Welcome back to This Day in Scottish History. I'm your host, Colin MacDonald. Today, we turn our attention to a story that is equal parts incredible and tragic: the life and schemes of Gregor MacGregor, a man whose audacity and imagination brought financial ruin and death to hundreds, but earned him a place in the annals of history. On December 3rd, 1845, MacGregor died in Venezuela, far from his Scottish homeland. Yet his legacy as the creator of the fictional Principality of Poyais lives on as one of history's most audacious scams. Born in Edinburgh on December 24th, 1786, Gregor MacGregor was the son of a naval captain, Daniel MacGregor, and Anne Austen. Though his upbringing was unremarkable, MacGregor harboured grand ambitions. At the age of 16, he joined the Royal Navy, beginning a military career that would later take him across the Atlantic. Over the years, he served in the Spanish and Portuguese armies and eventually found himself fighting for Venezuelan independence from Spain. By 1817, MacGregor had styled himself as a general, leading a small force to capture the Spanish fort of San Fernandina on Amelia Island, Florida. His military career was daring but lacked the distinction he often claimed. MacGregor's most infamous chapter began in 1820 when he returned to Britain with an audacious story. He introduced himself to London's elite as the Cazique, or Prince of Poyais, a tropical paradise he claimed to govern on the Mosquito Coast of Central America. According to MacGregor, the indigenous king of the region had gifted him 12,500 square miles of land to develop. He painted a vivid picture of Poyais as a fertile, prosperous, and disease-free nation ready to welcome British settlers. MacGregor's genius lay in the details. He presented an array of official-looking documents, including maps, land grants, and even a Poyais flag. In 1822, he published a 350-page guidebook promoting Poyais as a dream destination for those seeking opportunity and adventure. The book claimed the colony was pro-British, rich in natural resources, and free from the tropical diseases that plagued neighbouring regions. The guidebook and MacGregor's magnetic personality convinced many that Poyais was a golden opportunity. Investors poured money into the venture, and settlers rushed to join the expeditions. In 1822, MacGregor raised a £200,000 loan in London. That September, the Honduras packet set sail from London with 70 hopeful settlers. Months later, another ship, the Kennersley Castle, departed Leith with over 200 more, many of them Scots. These settlers arrived at Poyais to find not the bustling port and thriving settlements they had been promised, but an unforgiving jungle. Disease, starvation, and despair quickly set in. The settlers tried to survive by building makeshift shelters, but they lacked the resources and leadership needed to succeed. Tropical diseases such as malaria and yellow fever claimed many lives. By the time a rescue ship arrived from British Honduras, more than 150 settlers were dead. The survivors were evacuated, some settling elsewhere in the Americas, while others returned to Britain destitute and disillusioned. The scandal erupted in Britain upon their return. Newspapers were filled with stories of MacGregor's deceit, but astonishingly, he avoided prosecution. Instead, he fled to France, where he launched the same scheme anew. In Paris, MacGregor raised a further £300,000 loan, selling shares in the non-existent Poyais to enthusiastic French investors and recruiting settlers. This time, French authorities caught wind of the fraud before settlers embarked and seized the ship, briefly imprisoning MacGregor. However, he was acquitted due to a lack of evidence. Unrepentant, MacGregor returned to Britain in 1826 and resumed his efforts to promote Poyais. By this time, his reputation had suffered irreparably. Competing conmen even began selling fake land certificates for Poyais, further eroding public confidence in his scheme. By 1837, MacGregor finally gave up on his dream of Poyais, retreating into obscurity. In 1839, he returned to Venezuela, where his military service during the War for Independence earned him a general's pension. Despite his fraudulent past, he lived out his final years in relative comfort, passing away on December 3rd, 1845. The story of Gregor MacGregor and the Principality of Poyais is a cautionary tale about human gullibility and the devastating power of a charismatic conman. Yet it is also a story of how ambition and imagination, unchecked by morality, can spiral into disaster. Thank you for joining us on this day in Scottish history. I'm your host, Colin MacDonald. Tune in tomorrow for another fascinating journey into Scotland's past. Until then, haste ye back.